The beautiful totems in Duncan are welcoming you, and Mayor Phil Kent is with me and Councillor Michelle Staples. Phil, let's talk about this great opportunity that didn't come easily, because I know it's a lot of hard work. You also had a grant from Heritage Canada. So how did you apply, and what's the grant all about?
Well, the grant was actually applied for through the business improvement area in Duncan, the society, and part of it was to be a part of our Centennial project, which the city turned its centenary in 2012. And so a good deal of the funding for that and for other projects within the interpretive program was through a generous grant by Heritage Canada of about $60,000, and we were approved for that. So that included the Centennial Pole that you'll likely see on your walk, which is just a stunning piece done for the city for its centenary. And then, of course, the interpretive works, which were funded through our tourism committee budget and monies that we've put aside since I've been on council, recognizing that this is an art collection and it needs to be curated. And so we've been putting money aside every year, making sure that the collection is well taken care of. We moved many poles off the highway that were not being well displayed and were having damage, moved them into the downtown core, and have made a wonderful tour of it all. And of course, that's all through the hard work of our committee members and our tourism committee.
Yeah, exactly. I know that any project like this requires a lot of volunteer time. So, Michelle, your part was working with other volunteers as well. Who are all these people behind the scenes?
Well, the Totem Committee is blessed to have an absolutely amazing group of people representing it. We had people from the Duncan Business Association. Marianne Hartley represented the Business Association and has been involved for years. Dave Clark, a local community member as well with the Chamber, has been on the committee and was very active in a lot of the work that happened through the project. But the two people that really took it on and really owned it and brought it to life were Catherine Gagnon from the museum and Judy Hill from Hill's Gallery. Their dedication to this project goes beyond volunteer. It's a passion for both of them. Judy Hill, working on the Totem Committee, I believe she's been involved since the beginning of the committee. Is that correct, Phil? And really that expertise and having that knowledge and that relationship with the Carvers and that understanding of the culture and history brought something to the project that wouldn't have been possible to have the depth that we had and the relationships that were developed with the artists because of her involvement.
Yeah, wonderful generosity of time then spent by many people. You've just recently unveiled this whole aspect, so and that was late October, and now we're in November. So I'm imagining next spring and summer, especially when the area is heavy with tourists, could be quite exciting for Duncan.
Oh yeah, I mean already I've noticed a huge difference since the signs have been up on the poles. Telling the stories. Before, I've lived here for 22 years and I walked by them so many times and you just stop noticing them. Mm-hmm. And now what I see is people always around those signs, people stopping and reading and looking at the poles and really being interactive with everything in the community. It's like it brought a whole new life to them. And in the stories themselves brought new meaning to them that people didn't have before.
Yeah, understanding those stories is key. And let's talk about whose stories these are, Phil. I mean, there are lots of Carvers represented, but mostly from what tribe?
Well, there's a whole number of different Carvers that were involved through the project right from the beginning in the 80s when it began. Many of them Coast Salish, but also other nations, and also international, our sister city as well. In New Zealand. So I think one of the most important pieces of the culture of First Nations is the recognition of your ancestors and the oral history and what the elders communicate to their children and to their grandchildren. And that was, I think, one of the really key important parts of this art, because I think if we look at any form of art, we look for meaning, and this is one of the things that these Carvers, these artists, fantastic artists, have been able to convey their history of their ancestors, and that's really, really important.
Well, the fact that you were able to have Sister City participation is pretty remarkable. Such a long distance away. It's a Maori pole, is it?
Yes, Maori pole from the Northern District of New Zealand, and And I think as the project gained momentum and there was exchanges with our sister cities, that they did similar kinds of recognition of their history, and did that through carvings as well. And so behind us you'll see a maquette, but you can see the one on the walk in real life. We had the mayor here recently from there about I guess about a year and a half ago, and it was quite fascinating to talk to him about the history of the New Zealand and the Maori people, and so it was quite exciting to have him here recently to look at it and take him to see the pole.
Yeah, I bet. It's like an Indigenous networking opportunity, really. Pretty exciting that it originated here in Duncan. Michelle, what about the Centennial Pole? I'm sure that was a very proud time for everybody in this region.
Yeah, well, the Centennial Pole was part of a centennial year of celebrations that was led by Councillor Jackson, and the Totem Committee received the honor of going through all the artists that applied for the pole and selecting one based on criteria around really celebrating the city and celebrating what has been done in the city, and also just the relationship of the cultures, of the different cultures that are here, and to really look at how the river ties everything together. If you notice on all the poles, you'll see the salmon, the picture of the salmon. It's on the back of the totem, carved in, and that's the same one that you'll see on the watermark on the signs.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks for giving us a bit of a preview about that. How about all these stories, though? It must have been an enormous task to gather all the oral history stories.
Through the grant, there was room for a project coordinator. So a woman named Jane Mertz was hired to do that work. And she went around and met with the Carvers. She interviewed them, some of them at their home. And people who have passed interviewed their families about the stories. But also, part of what I found really interesting about it wasn't just the stories of the poles, but it was the stories of the families and the stories of what they remembered about the carvings and what they'd heard about when people came together to do this work and what it meant to people at that time. And so it was a really fascinating project, and she did an amazing job of gathering all of that information.
Fabulous. Well, this is just a preview for you. Now it's your chance to come to Duncan, experience the project, these wonderful pieces of native art for yourself. We're going to take you on a road trip. People still hit the road all the way until the snow falls, usually even beyond. And we've got some great road trip ideas for you coming up after the break. And before we go, now you're a Vancouver Island person, you have a lot of background on the island, and I know most mayors' positions include some controversies. Any sticky situations you're dealing with right now on council and in your chair as mayor?
Well, I've never viewed anything as a sticky issue. I think when we're having dialogue and communication with people, we're looking for solutions to things, and so I've never seen them as grinding points or difficulty. We just, we want to improve. That's really the culture we have here in our council, and every member of our staff and community here are always looking to make things better. And so this project that we were working on is one of those things, and we have so many others.
Well, certainly I know there are a variety of opinions on the diking issue as well, Phil.
Well, it's part of an overall flood management plan, which was done in 2009, just actually, ironically, prior to the flood that we had here that caused quite a bit of damage and devastation for people. We live in a river estuary, and I think the overall scope of the plan is to try to return the floodplain more to its natural behavior, and so there's many elements to it, which diking is just one part of it, which we need to do to protect the infrastructures and the people that we have that are in those situations. But it's a comprehensive thing, and we all need, I think, to gain more information, get more education on what the flood management says and how we're going to develop in the future. So very important.
Well, thank you both very much for your time, and we'll be looking forward to you keeping us updated so we can update the viewers on all of the issues going on in Duncan and the Cowichan Valley. Mayor Phil Kent and Councillor Michelle Staples have been my guests. Thanks for joining us on Go Island. The Cowichan Valley edition is shown every Tuesday and Thursday evening and Wednesday and Friday daytime. Be sure to let us know if you have a story idea. Join us again next week.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network, Men's Wardrobe by DG Bremner & Co., Menswear and Accessories, Hair Services provided by Salon J,